Good evening and welcome to the Laughing Monkey Music Show. We have a great guitarist and I'm a huge fan of Steve from Marillion. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How you doing?
I'm doing good. You've been doing this for 42 years? No. What's the quick math?
Let's see. Where are we now? 2022. This will be the 43rd year.
43rd. Look at how
Yeah,
bad am I, right? Oh,
yeah, 79. I
totally
auditioned
not prepared. Yeah.
and joined.
Well,
So yeah.
congratulations. I don't even know how you even do these interviews at this point without like going crazy because you get the same questions all the
Yeah,
time.
it's not too bad at providing you don't try and do too many in one day. I think once you do more than three, your brain just scrambles and you can never remember, did I just say this to this person or was that to the previous guy? Or, so, but other than that, it every now and again it's pretty straightforward.
Well, I will try. Well, I don't want to really focus on the past anyhow. I want to talk about you guys have a lot of great stuff going on now and stuff you've done. But just before we start, I had two things I want to ask you because I know you're a reader and you're a good lover of TV and stuff. During COVID, what has been your go-to binge and your go-to book?
Oh, go to binge.
Yeah, it could be a
Uh,
movie or a series. It could be Netflix or
I mean,
Amazon,
it's
whatever. You know
it's
what I'm saying?
usually series. Standard. I mean, some science fiction, fantasy, some just straightforward drama. Um, yeah, you just try and find something that can keep your brain occupied.
Nothing
Really,
particular jumped out at you.
nothing that really grabs me. I'm at the moment. I'm watching the Rings of Power uh, prequel. Love the Sandman. Saw the Sandman poster on your wall there. Love the original
Yep.
graphic
Yes.
novels back in when they came out. Stranger Things, I really enjoyed. Even obviously it's maybe aimed at a slightly younger audience, but I found that very entertaining. Maybe partly for the nostalgia. Um, Game of Thrones, I loved. The prequel, yeah, okay.
Are you watching it? Like, it is because they're on almost the same time and you're watching them. And I was watching them both, catching up on Sunday night with my wife. I was getting confused between the two of them because, they're both very similar in a way. But
Yes,
it's very
yeah.
funny.
Yeah, I just think that the original, other than the ending of Game of Thrones, I thought that was outstanding. The whole the
Yeah.
story and the filming and the direction and casting and special effects. It's just a shame that George couldn't
Finish.
continue writing the book, so they had a proper story to work from. I found the ending a little bit of a disappointment after such an incredible journey.
And I think actually this is the jump off point because with Game of Thrones, the perfect example is it's a full package. And
Yeah,
that's kind of what you guys are like. It's the visuals, your performance, the music, the lyrics. So it's the writing, the costumes. It's a full thing.
exactly. Yeah,
And
yeah.
to me, that's kind of the feeling I get from you guys. I always have, no matter what version it's been, you know.
Yeah, it's all about having really powerful music combined with powerful lyrics, really. So it has a depth that maybe most music doesn't have, and that people can you can take people on a journey or tell them a story, or deal with real life situations in a way that you can't within the confines of a conventional song. It's just difference between a short story and a novel, really, in terms
Right.
of how much more ground you can explore.
You guys do though, but like the music can be very beautiful. It's like when the guys don't. I mean, if you guys wrote different lyrics, you could have been like a really just you focus in a bit more of a pop band and cashed
Yeah,
in, but you don't. Your lyrics are very smart.
yeah. I mean, we've had moments of pop success, especially with Kaylee, but that's not the world we inhabit, really. That was almost like an aberration that we bled into the pop world for a short period of time. Had a look around and thought, oh no, we don't like this. and
That's my
uh,
point. Yeah, but your
you
music
know,
is
it's
beautiful though. It's not like it's some kind of weird spaceship thing. You know what I mean? It's
yeah. What we do, I think we exist in a very strange, our own almost
ethos.
corner of the music universe, really. We've never been trendy. We've never been the critics' darlings, I suppose, and pretty much ignored by a lot of the mainstream press, especially in the UK, which you tend to find in your home country. They tend to ignore you more
So
than
it's
anywhere
weird,
else.
isn't it?
But we've outlasted all those people, all the naysayers. You know, um, a lot of the magazines no longer exist. I mean, social media has taken over so much in terms of how a band gets exposure these days. And even though the mechanism of the music industry doesn't really function in the same way because most music is streamed by anyone under 30. So, we've done really well to follow the path we've taken over, like I say, 43 years, 18 studio albums, and still be going strong. I mean, we were talking yesterday, we were filming a documentary for the special edition of Season's End, and it is incredible that we're still doing it all these years. 33 years after Steve Hogarth joined.
It's a testament, and
Yeah, it
it's.
really is.
I love the fact that first of all, I say looking back, you look back at what the mainstream media is. It feels like there could be like it's always like the loudest critics. There's always like 10 people that are louder than 100 people, but maybe just because media didn't, those 10 people didn't push certain types of music, your music, a lot of prog music, a certain way, was always the louder people. Because the fact you're here right now, there was more than 10 people, you know what I'm saying, that like
Yeah,
you. So, and I also think what's great is you guys, I think like bands have like in my eyes like a career like a career of a band, right? If you have three stages, the first one is you break out. The
yeah,
second phase is when you're kind of struggling, you're up, you're down, you're whatever. And the third phase is you're established and you do what you do. You can do whatever you want, you know?
yeah.
And a lot of bands, and I think you guys have been in that phase since the 90s. Like, because once you got past that, because you were who you are and you don't have to prove yourself.
I think what's maybe quite
And most
exceptional.
bands don't make it past the second part.
Yeah, quite exceptional about us is that even after all these years, we still have something to say, both musically and lyrically. I mean, most bands have their early albums, they have their breakthrough album if they're going to have a long career, maybe breakthrough two albums, and then quite often there's a gradual decline, uh, culminating in them playing their greatest hits every time they go out on the road.
Right.
And we've kind of bucked that trend really, in that we're still very much about what we've just done. I mean, this tour that we're in the middle of, people we play the whole new album an hour before it's dark from beginning to end as the first thing. So it's like an hour of music,
Wow.
and people are loving it. Probably more so than on any album we've ever toured.
Hmm.
There's just a great feeling of satisfaction and excitement and emotion really as we play these songs to people.
Yeah.
So that's an incredible experience. We're all in our 60s and we're still doing it. So yeah, long wait continue.
I think a couple of things. I think some of the bands that do the greatest hits, they do albums and they want to do more, but there's a certain style of music. The fans are like, nope, I stopped loving music when I was 18 because that's where all my memories
Yeah,
are attached. I
yeah,
think, the Marillion audience isn't, not all their emotions are attached to each song. It's not, and there's no right or wrong for people, but the fortunate part of your fan base and of fans like this is like, we keep going. You want to keep
yeah,
going. And we talk about the smart lyrics, and of course the music's great. And when Fish left, and then it's just like it wasn't like one band changed. To me, it was like you got two favorite new bands now. It
yeah.
doesn't that doesn't end. And then Steve picked up, and then so you guys continued on. And I think maybe everyone needed these lyrics more now after what's gone on
Oh,
than
absolutely. I mean,
before. I think maybe that's why you have a big response too. Like it feels so much
yeah.
more.
No, I mean it's been a kind of path over the last three albums. I think Fear especially resonated at the time, but it kind of resonates even more now in terms of the way the world's going. And then with the pandemic, so many people can relate to the lyrics on the last album, and especially when it comes to playing the end of Care. It's an incredibly emotional experience. You see the front rows with tears streaming down their
Mhm.
faces because, most people know someone or lost someone during the pandemic.
Yeah.
So, to be able to capture something of that emotion and the gratitude that the world feels towards the people, the nurses and the doctors and the healthcare workers who in some cases sacrifice their lives to try and help and keep other people safe. I mean, it's just it's an amazing thing to be able to do, to have something that can do that.
And the fact that you also right at the gates for be hard on yourself, like right at the gates. don't be lazy. Like it says, like, look, life's hard, but you need to be hard on yourself. Like especially
Yeah,
goes against what everyone's been saying nowadays. In the media, everyone's got a lot of problems and issues. This was like, well, look at yourself. You got to be
yeah,
hard on yourself too. You got to push yourself.
yeah, yeah. It is sometimes difficult, especially when the world's going to hell. But
I know, but that's a good message. You come out with an album in
yeah,
2022 to be like,
yeah,
the first song is be hard on yourself. What?
yeah. Do your best.
You're not
Yeah, we all
placating to
need.
me.
Yeah, yeah. We all need to do our part.
So with this album, are as obviously, do you think it's gotten probably like one of the best responses you've got? Do you think like feedback? Do you think?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, the high chart positions around Europe, incredible reviews, all over Europe. The fans love it. Um, yeah, it's kind of really is a feeling of the next level of sort of resurgence, I suppose, in
Yeah,
the band's fortunes in some ways. Even though it's a tough time because people are struggling with a higher cost of living, especially over here in the UK. Uh, but yeah, and I think the whole album's a very positive message, and I think that is what we need at this moment
I think
in
it's
time.
important. I think, but one of the things I miss, and I mean, I love what you guys have is like you have the lyrics and you'll have the artwork and stuff. And we don't have like as much now because the love of albums and stuff. Now we got streaming, and you look on your phone, and like
Yeah,
sometimes it's the wrong group with your name or the wrong picture of the album, and you're like, not even the right genre. You're like, are you kidding me? The
yeah,
lyrics
it's a
aren't right.
shame.
It's crazy, and so
Yeah,
no one really knows what's going on. Because I remember you look, I got my albums, I pull them out. Who produced it?
yeah.
Who wrote the song? And nowadays you're like, I don't even know myself. I have to go really deep.
Yeah, no, you have to use a search engine to find out really these days. But I think we're lucky in a way that a lot of our fans are still of the generation that they want to own physical product. They want to feel like that they own the music, that they've supported the artist. And because that, we're doing a lot better than a lot of artists in our situation.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, streaming is just a fact of life now. Um, but generally speaking, we're kind of keeping our head above water because we have the best fan base in the world,
I'm gonna
really.
tell you, I've seen some. I want to say bravo to anybody out there who I've seen some Marillion collections out there that people have shown on like YouTube and pictures. Holy moly! Bravo
Yeah,
to you guys. That is some
yeah,
fantastic collections.
yeah. No,
Holy Toledo's.
yeah, it's quite a few things with all the front row club releases and all the different live albums and Blu-rays and DVDs. Uh, but it's a good, we will always be doing this. All bands have a finite life, and now we're all in our various stages of being in the 60s. You can only kind of project maybe 10 years into the future and think, okay, I'd like to think we can make another two albums in our career, and tour some more. But you have to be realistic. The older you get, the more difficult that becomes, especially
Yeah,
sleeping on
but
a tour bus, which I have 3.5 weeks off to look forward to on the
oh,
next leg of our tour.
that's the worst part. I mean, but then you got like, problem is you got Mick Jagger dancing around. It was he like 75, 76. He's just
Yeah,
changing it on everybody. Stop,
I think the thing is, once you reach that level of
that level.
mega
Yeah.
success, everything becomes easy. You don't have to do the grueling travel, um, you know. And yeah, hats off to the guy for keeping himself in such amazing shape. Um, but yeah, any artists who kind of working in the higher levels, it gets easier. We're still, we're touring around Europe in a truck and two tour buses and playing decent sized venues, but it's still the economics mean that you do have to travel overnight on a tour bus, and also the routing. The agents they tend to get a map of Europe and throw darts at it and say, okay, let's
Right.
go there first. And honestly, you sort of zigzag across Europe, which just seems so necessary when you've been doing it for 40 years. But, it's a fact of touring life.
Has Brexit changed a little bit? Like, what's the feedback now? Because I remember hearing with the artists before, but like hearing artists tour now is very interesting to me because obviously I'm in the US.
It's complicated, and for some things, for some artists at a certain level, it makes it a lot more difficult. When I fly over to Europe and do my solo shows with my solo band, you try and take as little equipment as possible and hire backline when you go over there. but with Marillion, yeah, it's all in the truck, so you have to do car days, and there's various sort of restrictions. But you work around it. You know, you do your best. The difficulty is things like merchandising. You can't bring merchandising in without paying duty on it, regardless of whether or not you're going to sell it.
And then you get
That,
taxed on top of that.
yeah, yeah, oh yeah. It's quite complex. And in the past, certain taxes we could kind of reclaim that we can no longer can. So that's another strain on the economies of doing what we do. But
So people buy the merch online. There's no one taxing it from them. There's no duty charges. Get it
yeah,
online from the band and the website
yeah, no, that's the thing. Whatever you can buy, whatever you can from the artist, because you're
directly.
putting money in their pocket and not in the all those other people down the food chain who like to take their cut.
And it's hard because I mean, a band will be like, "Why don't you play in this town?" Or the cost. Like, they go. I know from England over to US can be almost like 10 grand on a visa, maybe per person, and it's like that's not affordable for a lot of bands, you know.
Yeah,
Or a touring bus is grand to $1,400 on an average just to get the bus a day. You can't,
yeah.
you know, or the house gets a cut of your profits on your shirts inside.
Well,
That's like the
exactly.
mob.
Yeah, I mean, the last show we did a week and a half ago in London at the Hammersmith Odeon, I think they take 20% of the gross for your merch. So, you know, some of the items mainly only have a 30 or 35% profit margin. So you're giving most of the profits to the venue for the pleasure of playing there.
Well,
But
that's.
yeah,
I'm sorry.
that's one of the bad things about the industry. But like I say, we're lucky to be still operating at this level and have a great audience wherever we go. Hopefully, we're going to come back to the States at some point,
I hope so.
maybe 2024. We're trying to
That,
find a
that, that would be great. I'd love to see you guys. That's something I haven't seen is you guys. How are you guys like? How did this album come about? If you guys all have solo projects, is there like we pick a moment in time? This is, you know, we all get together. This is Marillion time. And then we're like we're on a break. You know what I mean? And then everyone kind of either
yeah.
takes a break
Well,
or does other stuff.
it's kind of 8 years since my last solo album came out, Ghost of Pripyat. I've been kind of working on another album called Revan Tule for the last 4 years, but you know the pandemic came along, and then you know we had to make the Marillion album during the pandemic, so that took most of my creative energy for those kind of 2 years, and then you rehearse and then you tour, so there goes another 6 months. So you know, we all try and do bits and pieces, but you just have to try and shoehorn them in whenever you can, really.
It's quite a process. So like when you guys coming in, who's coming with the music? Because like when you write, some people write music and they're like they'll say, all right, this is for the band, or they silo it. This is my solo stuff. This is this. Are you writing music and just what you bring forward is like, do you have it already in your mind, or you just kind of put it out there?
Well, most of the time with Marillion, stuff's created spontaneously in the room. So we'll all be jamming around, and somebody will have like the ghost of an idea. Somebody else will take that up and add something. Maybe Pete will start moving the chords or moving the bass line, which suggests different chords, which Mark will then play. And it kind of evolves in a very organic way. Or maybe we've got like the basic track, and I'll come in and just lay down loads of different sort of arpeggios or melodies to add to it, you know, to kind of weave around the vocal melody and create something with a different sort of level of complexity, maybe.
When you at this point, your guitar playing has not slowed down at all.
Good.
Are you? How are you? But how are you maintaining it? I mean, because a lot of artists will be like this. They're like they get home from the road, they'll put the guitar, I'll hang it up in the rack like behind me, and they'll walk away. And some people are like right away. Some people are like, I don't
Yeah.
have calluses on my hands. Some of the best guitarist players have told me I don't even have calluses on my hands right now. It hurts when I play my guitar.
Yeah. No, there was a period of time during the pandemic where I didn't really play for a couple of months, and that was, you know, you kind of lose some of the muscle tone that you have, you know, after you've been playing for 50 years or whatever. Uh, but it kind of comes back slowly but surely. I had actually one of the worst things during the pandemic is I had a frozen shoulder, my left shoulder, which made playing really painful for about 6 months. So I
What's
kind of
that? A frozen
frozen
shoulder?
shoulder. It's like it's hard to describe, but basically you can't move your shoulder up. Kind of moved it up to about there, and then you know you can't put it over your head. and it makes certain other motions as you're playing kind of stiff and painful from your elbow to your shoulder.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it's quite common, but yeah, that was a bit of a challenge working my way through that, because you worry then about, will it ever recover? Will I ever be able to play the same? But I was kind of still recovering from that when we made the Marillion album. So obviously I kind of I managed, but yeah, the music is just. I think there's different kinds of musicians. Some of it's a skill, it's a career, it's something you do, it pays the rent or the mortgage. With other people, it's more like a vocation. It's just what you are. It's all your brain really thinks about. Even if you're not playing, you sort of you're just totally a musician, which maybe can sometimes make you slightly dysfunctional as a human being, but gives you the focus, I think, to be able to do what you do. So it takes incredible focus.
Maybe the human beings are the ones that are dysfunctional to the musicians, is what I was going to say. Well,
Yeah.
that's what it feels like. It's at this point, you guys also have, and we'll end on this talk, but you have some live albums too. They've been coming out on media, streaming media at least. What's up with that?
Uh,
A little down low.
yeah, quite honestly, I find it hard to keep track of with what we've got coming out. We have the space, the Marillion Video on Demand channel, and yeah, there's various sort of live concerts
Yeah,
available to
I'll
stream
put
on.
all these links too below so people can go right to it from this interview
Right,
on
cool.
it.
Yeah, and then we're always kind of in the course of producing some live, either live tracks from one of the Marillion weekends, or a live Blu-ray. We'll
Yeah,
be
the live concert series, Distant Lights have been popping up. Like I never know it's going to come up on my media.
right.
Like you can't keep up.
Yeah, no, it's people want to hear it. It's some of the songs we try and vary it so people get to hear songs they haven't heard before
Mhm.
played live. And obviously, when you've got 18 albums to choose from, that's a lot of songs. So yeah,
How'd you
this
do that?
last.
Like, how are you guys whittling it down? Do you guys is it because you do special shows like new album and then we'll do some songs, or
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, that's what we did with the Marillion weekends. One night would be dedicated to the new album. Actually, one night was dedicated to Season's End. We played from beginning to end, and then we'd just play a selection of other songs, really, to try and balance it.
that's quite a gift to have to be able to do that as much as you guys do to the fans with your material. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, we're in a unique situation, really. I think having those 18 albums to choose from, and having this long career, it's just strange. It's just strange when I think about how many years we've been doing it. Uh, in some respects, it seems like only yesterday that we were kind of making Season's End with Steve for the first time, when we talked about it in the interview we did for the documentary yesterday. And Nick Davis, the guy who produced the album with us, came down, and he had a few photographs from the sessions, and it was just to see these young lads, 33 years ago. So it's quite sometimes when you take stock of your life, and the things that you've achieved, and it just seems incredible that we can still do it. To get in a band and get signed to a record company is like winning the lottery, but to be doing it all this time later is just insane.
You've survived the labels that I mean,
Yeah,
that got you. I mean, you've acted the ones that didn't want nothing to do with you afterwards after a while because you weren't cool.
yeah,
I don't know where they
yeah.
are anymore. And the
Well,
labels
exactly.
were banks anyhow, right? They were just lending you money against yourself anyhow. So
Yeah, yeah, kind of, and what they get in return, they especially in the old days when we signed to EMI, we signed
was
in
your soul.
perpetuity, which no artist would ever dream of doing now. Um, it's all down to the management you have and the management style about how much you give away in those early days. And we gave away a lot, but yeah, we're doing okay. We have our own little kind of way of doing things these days with the album pre-orders and the Marillion
Mhm.
weekends, and still making physical products. So we're not starving. We're not rich,
No,
but we're not starving, which
no,
is
but it's important for people to know this
yeah,
kind of stuff, though. Like the finances,
yeah,
like, oh, why is it? That's why the show started. Why is there a shirt for $40? Well, it probably costs, how many colors are on the print? How many is the design?
Yeah,
And I've got to put them all behind my tour bus and tour it behind there. I got to pay gas for the all the stuff I'm touring. Do I have to make extra shirts for people that I don't know we're gonna buy? And then I got to drag it
yeah,
around, and then the merch. By the time you get done, it's literally just almost like a memento for a couple bucks to the band. Who's going to
yeah.
sell it? So I like the fans to know that you guys are not sitting on a bus eating caviar, laughing at these $40 shirts.
Oh God, no.
No, but my point is, working bands, it's just part helps the stream, and it costs a lot of paying the budget to sometimes get these shirts and merch. So I want everybody to go to support the music, support the sites. So
Yeah,
it's
it really is.
artist direct.
Support your favorite band, because if you don't, they might not be around in a year or 2 years'
Mm-hmm.
time, because it's so close to the wire. A lot of bands at the level below us are really, really struggling. I mean, they struggled throughout the
Yeah,
pandemic. It's a struggle because they sell maybe a quarter as many records as they did 10 years ago. And it's tough. Uh, I feel really sorry for any young bands that are coming through, because unless you're very, very lucky and have a label and the right management and the support to kind of break you through to a certain level, you'll never make any money. You do it for the love. You do it because there's nothing in the world like creating music. It's in a way it's its own reward, but you do still have to live, especially if you've got a
it
family.
is.
You've got
Uh,
to
It's
find a way.
crazy. But I'm glad you guys are in position. I was saying on the end of this thought here, to take up all your time. One of the best things I want to share with the audience is that some of the audience bands and maybe younger bands can be aware of this. Is instead of going for the 100,000 fans and always doing this like buckshot at a barn thing, what a lot of artists have done and have been very successful is that many they hit their audience and they focus in to their niche audience. Might be a
Mm.
thousand people, and they're making more money from 1,000 people through revenue and loyalty off their website and stuff, then it might be 100,000.
Oh,
And there's actually,
definitely.
and the
Yeah.
numbers are there to speak. It sounded like it would be like ridiculous. They're like, I got to do what I can. No, if you kind of hone in and focus on that, you will probably do better,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah. No, if you take the profits that the record companies always traditionally made,
Yeah.
if you can just keep control, not sign a contract and give it all away. If you can build up a fan base by yourself and sell direct, then yeah, that's the only way you can ever have a chance of making a decent living, really.
I want to thank you just for doing this. And I want to thank you for your
So you
music
will.
for all the years. You've been a great guitar player and a great inspiration as a guitar player, as I am also. I didn't want to delve into guitar playing with you because we would have been here for like 3 days if I didn't want to go there. I want people to check out the newest album, check out, of course, the whole catalog, the live stuff, everything, and check out the links below. So I want to thank you, man. This has been great. Thank you.
My pleasure. Good to speak to you.